All right, get ready because we're diving deep into some really wild stuff.
Oh, I know, right?
Hypno-channeling.
I know. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Like when I first heard that, I was like, hypnosis I get, but what's the channeling
Mm.
part?
Yeah.
So explain it.
It's like instead of accessing the subconscious of the person that's being hypnotized, like in traditional hypnotherapy, hypno-channeling taps into a different source.
Oh,
It's kind of
yeah.
like, think of it like tuning into a radio station, but instead of music, you're getting wisdom and insights.
That's where it gets really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And the YouTube channel Hypnovibes, you familiar with it?
Yes.
It's showcasing this with some pretty compelling case studies.
Yeah, they are.
They're calling it a revolutionary path to universal wisdom.
Okay.
And we're focusing on one episode in particular today,
Okay.
where Naomi, the hypnotherapist, she's working with Jessica.
Uh-huh.
Now, Jessica's the one being hypnotized.
All right.
But get this. The energy being channeled is Mr. Sagano's higher self,
Oh.
who just happens to be Naomi's sister's husband.
It adds such a unique layer to this, right?
I know.
Like, not only are we exploring hypnochanneling to access profound insights, but you have this personal connection, too.
Exactly.
Which is really cool. It makes you wonder what's going on between Naomi, her sister, and Mr. Sagano.
I know. To really grasp this whole thing,
Mhm.
let's hear directly from Mr. Sagano's higher self,
Okay.
channeled through Jessica. This clip is from the beginning of the session.
All right. Wow. Oh, wow.
Right off the bat, he drops a bombshell
He does.
saying,
Mhm.
it's almost as if he manifested his own disease because he's very scared of living.
Wow. That's heavy.
Yeah, that's a big statement. It really raises so many questions about the connection between, our thoughts and beliefs and our physical well-being.
You know, I've dabbled in the law of attraction and all that, but to think that someone could literally manifest a disease because of fear,
Yeah.
it's a whole new level. Right. Well, the concept of manifesting illness through fear and anxiety isn't entirely new. It's rooted in the idea that our subconscious mind plays a really powerful role in shaping our reality.
So there might be like a scientific explanation for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different theories out there.
Okay.
Like, some believe that prolonged stress and anxiety can just weaken your immune system, making you more susceptible to getting sick.
Okay.
Others suggest that negative thoughts and emotions create these energetic blockages in your body, disrupting the flow of energy.
Oh, I see.
And that leads to physical imbalances.
Okay, so how does this apply to Mr. Sagano specifically? Because from what we know, he's retired, financially secure, and seems to have a loving relationship with, Naomi's sister.
Right.
It seems like he has a pretty good life.
Yeah.
So why all this fear?
That's the really interesting thing about this case, isn't it? Because it highlights the fact that we can't always judge someone's internal state just based on their external circumstances.
Right.
So Mr. Sagano might appear happy and content to the outside world, but clearly there's something else going on beneath the surface.
And that's when his higher self reveals that he's actually quite skilled at masking his true feelings, often using humor to deflect from his internal struggles.
Oh, wow.
It's like he's putting on a brave face for everyone,
Right.
but deep down, there's this underlying fear.
Yeah, it's a classic example of how we often use coping mechanisms to deal with emotions that are difficult.
Right.
And humor can be a brilliant way to deflect and distract, but it doesn't necessarily address the root of the problem.
Exactly.
So in Mr. Sagano's case, it seems like this fear stems from some unresolved grief.
Okay.
Loneliness. His higher self mentions that his entire family has passed away and that he was an only child.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the sense of loss.
Yeah. And the isolation.
Yeah. But he's with Naomi's sister now.
Mm.
They seem to have a good relationship, at least from the outside looking in.
Right.
Isn't that enough to combat those feelings of loneliness?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But this is where things get even more complicated.
Okay.
Mr. Sagano's higher self goes on to reveal that both he and Naomi's sister struggle with expressing their emotions.
Yeah.
And they kind of bottle things up instead of communicating openly with each other.
That's a recipe for disaster
Yeah.
in any relationship.
Yeah.
I can see how that lack of communication would only amplify those feelings of loneliness and isolation,
Exactly.
even if you're surrounded by loved ones.
Right. And without that emotional intimacy and support, those unresolved feelings of grief and fear can just kind of fester
Right.
and potentially manifest in other ways, perhaps even physically, like his higher self is suggesting.
So if Mr. Sagano's higher self is aware of all this, what's the solution?
Well, according to him, the key lies in belief.
Okay.
She repeatedly emphasizes that Mr. Sagano has to believe in the process for any real healing to occur.
Right.
He needs to be open to the possibility of change and willing to face his fears head on.
That makes a lot of sense. You can have all the resources and support in the world.
Yeah.
But if you don't believe that change is possible, then it's unlikely to happen.
Absolutely. But this brings up another question, right?
Yeah.
Like, Naomi's got all this info about her brother-in-law. Should she share it with him? Should she intervene?
Right. What are the ethics of knowing all this?
All right.
And what about Mr. Sagano's free will?
Yeah, exactly. Does she have the right to interfere in his life, even if she believes it's for his own good? Let's hear what Mr. Sagano's higher self has to say about this.
Wow. Even Mr. Sagano's higher self is advising against sharing the video with him.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's emphasizing respecting his free will.
Right.
And allowing him to come to his own conclusions in his own time.
It's a very delicate balance.
It is.
You have this desire to help a loved one who's clearly struggling.
Right.
But then also recognizing their autonomy and their right to make their own choices.
It's so tricky.
Even if those choices seem detrimental, I'm surprised by how firm his higher self is on this.
Yeah.
You'd think that if someone's higher self is aware of all this pain and suffering, they'd be more inclined to, intervene.
You would, wouldn't you? But it kind of speaks to a level of wisdom and non-interference that's often attributed to, higher consciousness.
Okay.
There's this understanding that each person has their own path to walk.
Right.
And that forcing change or revealing sensitive information without consent can really disrupt that journey.
It also makes me think about how we often make assumptions about people's happiness based on their outward behavior.
Yeah.
We might see Mr. Sagano, cracking jokes
Right.
and think he's got it all figured out. But as we're learning, there's so much more going on beneath the surface.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that everyone is fighting their own battles.
Right.
Even if they don't show it.
Yeah.
Just because someone seems happy or successful on the outside doesn't mean they're not dealing with internal struggles that we're not privy to. Yeah. Yeah, it's a powerful lesson in empathy and compassion.
Right.
Reminding us to be mindful of the fact that we never truly know what someone else is going through.
It makes you realize how important it is to approach others with kindness and understanding. But circling back to Mr. Sagano's situation,
Yeah.
I'm still grappling with this concept of manifesting illness.
Right.
I understand how chronic stress can weaken the immune system.
All right.
But how exactly does fear translate into a specific disease?
It's a complex question.
Right.
And there's no single definitive answer, but some practitioners who work with the mind-body connection
Okay.
suggest that different emotions tend to manifest in different areas of the body.
Okay.
For example, suppressed anger is often associated with liver issues,
Okay.
while anxiety might manifest as digestive problems.
I see.
It's based on the idea that our emotions have a corresponding energetic vibration
Okay.
that can impact our physical well-being.
Okay, so it's like our emotions have a physical imprint on our bodies.
Yeah.
But isn't it a bit of a leap to say that someone could manifest a specific disease just by thinking about it?
It's certainly a controversial topic,
Yeah.
and not everyone agrees with this idea,
Right.
but there's a growing body of research exploring the mind-body connection
Okay.
and the ways in which our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions can influence our physical health.
Right.
Think about the placebo effect, for example.
Yeah.
People experience real, measurable improvements just because they believe they're receiving a powerful treatment, even if it's just a sugar pill.
Right.
That speaks to the incredible power of the mind.
That's true. The placebo effect is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So if our thoughts and beliefs are that powerful, what are some practical things we can do to cultivate a more positive mindset that supports our well-being?
That's where practices like mindfulness and meditation come in.
Oh, okay.
By learning to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment,
Okay.
we can start to shift those negative thought patterns and cultivate a more peaceful, balanced internal state.
So instead of getting caught up in a spiral of anxious thoughts, we can learn to recognize them, acknowledge them, and then just let them go.
Exactly. And the more we practice this, the easier it becomes
Right.
to create that mental space where those negative thoughts just have less power over us.
Right. It's also helpful to focus on cultivating positive emotions.
Right.
Like gratitude,
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds a bit like, fake it till you make it,
Right.
but for our mental health.
There's definitely an element of that.
Yeah.
But the key is to do it with intention and awareness.
Right.
By consciously choosing to focus on the good things,
Yeah.
we can actually rewire our brains to be more optimistic and resilient.
That's fascinating. I'm realizing how much I tend to dwell on the negative,
Oh, yeah.
especially when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
We all do it. It's part of our survival mechanism.
Okay.
Focusing on potential threats and dangers.
Right.
But you have to find a balance. You have to train your mind to recognize the good as well as the bad.
Right.
And that brings us back to Mr. Sagano
Yeah.
and that core message from his higher self, the power of belief.
Yeah.
If we truly believe that we can heal, that we can create a better reality, then we're much more likely to achieve it.
It's almost like we're walking around with this untapped potential within us.
Yeah.
Just waiting for us to unlock it through belief and intention.
Exactly.
And that's where practices like energy healing come in.
Yeah. So Mr. Sagano's higher self ended the session with this kind of cryptic message
Yeah.
about energy and manifestation.
Right.
He said that's a lot of energy. So the energy itself from anything can happen.
Yeah. What was he getting at?
It's a really powerful statement that speaks to the potential of energy healing to create profound shifts in our lives.
Hmm.
Energy healing is based on this premise that we're all made up of energy,
Right.
and that this energy can get blocked or imbalanced,
Oh.
leading to physical, emotional, or spiritual disease.
Okay, I've heard about chakras and auras and things like that, but I've always been a bit skeptical.
Right.
How does energy healing actually work?
Well, there are many different modalities of energy healing,
Right.
each with its own unique approach.
Right.
Some, like Reiki, involve the practitioner channeling universal energy into the client's energy field to promote balance and healing.
Okay.
Others, like acupuncture, focus on stimulating specific energy points in the body to restore flow and vitality.
So you're saying there's actually a scientific basis for this?
Well, the scientific community is still catching up in terms of understanding and validating these practices.
Okay.
But there's a growing body of evidence suggesting that energy healing can have a measurable impact on our physical and emotional well-being.
Like what?
Okay, well, studies have shown that Reiki can reduce stress and anxiety,
Okay.
improve sleep quality, and even decrease pain levels in people with chronic conditions.
Wow.
And acupuncture has been recognized by the World Health Organization as an effective treatment for a wide range of ailments, from migraines to back pain.
Wow. Okay. I'm starting to see how this all ties together. Hypnochanneling, manifesting illness, energy healing.
Yeah.
It's all about recognizing the profound connection between our minds, our bodies, and this unseen world of energy.
Exactly. The more we learn about this interconnectedness, the more empowered we become
Right.
to take control of our health and well-being.
It's a bit overwhelming, but also incredibly exciting.
It is, and there's a lifetime's worth of knowledge to explore.
Right.
But even just by opening our minds to these possibilities, we're already taking a step in the right direction.
So if someone is interested in delving deeper into these concepts, where would you recommend they start?
Well, the YouTube channel Hypnovibes is a great resource for exploring hypnochanneling and other consciousness-expanding techniques. They have a variety of videos featuring Naomi and other practitioners.
And I believe Naomi also has a book series called The Next Level You
Yeah.
that explores these concepts in more depth.
It does. It's a fantastic resource for anyone looking to dive deeper into personal transformation, energy healing, and the power of belief.
Perfect. We'll definitely include links to those resources in the show notes for our listeners. So before we wrap up this deep dive, let's take a moment to recap the key takeaways.
Absolutely. We started by exploring the concept of hypnochanneling
Right.
and how it can be used to access higher consciousness and gain profound insights.
Right.
We then dove into that controversial topic of manifesting illness,
Yeah.
looking at the potential link between our thoughts, beliefs, and our physical health.
We also talked about the importance of cultivating a positive mindset through practices like mindfulness, meditation, and gratitude,
Yeah,
and how those practices can empower us to take control of our well-being.
absolutely. And finally, we touched upon the fascinating world of energy healing
Right.
and the ways in which it can be used to promote balance, vitality, and healing on all levels.
Yeah, it's a lot to absorb, but I feel like this has really opened my eyes to the incredible potential we all have
I know, right?
to shape our reality,
Yeah.
internally, externally.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's empowering to realize we're not just like passive bystanders in our own lives.
Right.
We can actually participate
Right.
in creating a reality that aligns with our deepest desires and values.
It all starts with awareness.
Absolutely.
Becoming aware of our thoughts,
Yeah.
our beliefs, our emotional patterns,
Yeah.
and how those things are impacting us.
Yes. And once we have that awareness, we can make choices that support us, support our well-being.
Right.
We can choose to focus on thoughts that empower us, cultivate emotions that uplift us,
Right.
and engage in practices that nourish our mind, body, and spirit.
This whole conversation has me thinking about Mr. Sagano,
Yeah.
his situation. Even though his higher self advised against intervening, I can't help but feel a little concerned.
It's natural to feel that way.
Yeah.
We care about the people in our lives.
Right.
And it's hard to see them struggling, especially when we think we have information that could potentially help them.
So what can we do? How can we support our loved ones without overstepping boundaries?
Right.
You know, violating their free will.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a delicate dance, and there's no right answer.
Yeah.
But I think you have to approach it with love,
Right.
compassion, and respect.
Okay.
We can offer support without judgment,
Okay.
create a safe space for them to share their feelings if they choose to,
Right.
and simply be there for them
Right.
without trying to fix them or change them.
That's a good reminder. Sometimes the best thing we can do is just be there.
Yeah,
Be a loving and supportive presence.
absolutely. And even though we can't control their choices or outcomes, we can still hold space
Okay.
for their healing. Send them love and positive energy.
I like that. It's like we're all interconnected
Yeah.
in this web of energy.
Yeah.
And our thoughts and emotions have this ripple effect
Absolutely.
that extends beyond ourselves.
It's a really beautiful way to think about it. It speaks to the power of, collective consciousness
Right.
and the idea that we can create a more positive and harmonious world by focusing on love, compassion, and understanding.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into hypnochanneling, energy healing, and the power of belief, what's one final takeaway you'd like to leave our listeners with?
You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are a powerful being of light and love, capable of incredible transformation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling inspired to explore these concepts further, don't forget to check out the YouTube channel Hypnovibes and Naomi's book series, The Next Level You, for more guidance and inspiration.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep questioning, and keep believing.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us.
Sagano-san, his higher self, to be here. I like to have this dialogue with you, and in order to help him and my sister as well. So when I count to 3, you'll be here. 1, you're coming through this body. 2, almost here, and 3. Hi. Is it Sagano-san's higher self?
It's almost as if he manifested his own disease because he's very scared of living.
Why?
Ask him, the human.
He's scared of living?
He's scared of a lot of things in life. There's fear.
But he's a happy person.
How do you know that?
On the surface. Wow. Has anything to do with my sister?
I cannot pinpoint the exact elements, but I can say that there is a good element of grief in his life.
So, because he's a person who makes a lot of jokes, and even my sister feels he's very funny. So that's not true? That's not deep inside?
It could be true. It could be him trying to release his internal stress.
But he retired and he doesn't have a family. He has family, but they all passed away and he's the only child. So I can't see anything that he is not happy about. We don't know. There's something.
There's fear and anxiety. It is almost as if he's manifesting his own disease because he's scared of living.
Oh, that's really surprising. So I'm thinking no, I don't know. He needs any help.
Does he want any help?
So I don't know who to ask.
Ask him.
But he might not say what he's from his heart.
He needs to say what the answer is from his heart in order for you to even heal him if he wants to be healed. How can you have an honest conversation with him to get him to the healing place where he can't even be honest with himself?
But he does not really believe this modality.
He has to believe in it in order for anything to work. Everything is about belief. He has to give permission to himself. Again, healing comes from the self.
So when someone is so afraid of living, then what's the purpose to come here?
He wasn't afraid from the start.
Then he started feeling there's nothing good from this life.
It's not in the way that he's depressed. It's in the way that he's scared and anxious.
With my sister, they really don't have anything, at least financially, emotionally. Nothing is really stopping them from feeling at least secure.
But they might have their own worries still that other people can't see.
And my sister is also someone who does not speak her mind. So I need to have a conversation with him and to find out if he's believe in this. Otherwise, there's nothing to cure.
Yes.
So you are guiding him,
Always.
but you let him be.
He has free will.
Maybe this conversation I can maybe translate to Japanese and show to him. What do you think?
It's best not to.
Because he will not believe it.
You do not have to convince someone of something.
But what does it hurt for him to know?
It doesn't, but he needs to really want and believe in this.
Right. But when he look at this video, he might feel something.
He has to come to the conclusion himself.
I don't think that will happen.
Then you may
Try this, what I just said.
yes.
I will do that. Thank you.
He's not someone that can be convinced or forced to do something.
Right. I know that. Right. He has a very structured way of thinking. A little bit rigid, but not in a bad way.
Nothing is ever in a bad way.
But he's, well, I thought he's, in general, he's like a happy person.
You can never really judge from the outside.
So that means a lot of people just, I don't know, I cannot do that if I'm not happy. I cannot pretend.
Well, not everyone is the same person that you
Yeah,
are.
of course. That's a lot of energy. So the energy itself will manifest.
Anything can happen.
I really appreciate this conversation, and if it's necessary, I will speak with you again. Thank you.